So President Trump's first week has involved him signing a variety of executive orders. One of these involved the building of a wall. He's also talked about cutting funding to sanctuary cities, and he's also talked about instituting a temporary ban on refugees incoming from certain Arab countries. One aim of a wall is to sort of cause people to have a harder time coming into the country. It doesn't seem to, the factors that drive people to immigrate to the U.S. illegally seem to be a lot more economic and less to do with security and enforcement and things like that. So it's already the case that most reasonable estimates of illegal immigration or flows coming over the border are basically much lower than they were in the 1990s and much lower than they've been as long as we've been able to sort of vaguely keep track. The other reason why it doesn't strike me as a hugely effective intervention is that a lot of illegal immigration comes from visa overstays. And so, people that come in on a tourist visa and then just never leave, right? And that's the kind of thing that like a wall is irrelevant to, because they come into an airport or they drive over the border or whatever as tourists, and then they decide to stay and we lose track of them in this country. So a lot about sanctuary cities is basically rhetorical and political, right? And it sort of amounts to cities basically refusing to or lightly enforcing federal government laws to do with illegal immigrants, right? And so specifically, you might think of a city that apprehends or apprehends somebody that doesn't have legal immigration papers and finds out that that person is not is undocumented, doesn't actually report that person to ICE or whoever. Most law enforcement in the country is local and state, right? I mean, so ultimately, there's a lot of local control over this sort of thing, which is what allows cities to basically declare themselves as such, sanctuary cities or whatever in the first place. They could just decide that their sort of stated policy is going to be to have a relatively light touch on sort of enforcing federal immigration law. Ultimately, a lot of this turns on what the public wants and what the public is willing to accept. And I mean, everybody sort of agrees that the current regime is broken. That was something that he campaigned on, but that's something that's that's something that was widely agreed, and Democrats and Republicans agree with it too. My advice would be to put more emphasis on comprehensive immigration reform, mainly for practical reasons, right? And when I say comprehensive immigration reform, I mean like a pathway to citizenship of some kind, including increased security, of some kind. I mean, this is how immigration politics has been made in the U.S. for most of its history. It's been a kind of a compromise, bipartisan sort of compromise. It's been, sort of slow development over time. We're long overdue for that kind of development.